There's a lot of big news coming out about Worldcoin recently. We had the $115 million raise. They launched their first consumer app recently, and now we have a black market that's popped up in China. Tell us about what's going on with Worldcoin. I know you've been following it very closely.
Yeah, so Worldcoin is officially a thing now. I think that's kind of the headline here. You know, there's been a lot of skepticism about this project, particularly among some in the crypto community, because as we know, it's basically a way of verifying identity using, by scanning irises. And so there's been a lot of controversy about Worldcoin and just about using this kind of biometric data, especially in a very privacy focused industry like crypto. But as you said, recently, massive fundraise. According to Worldcoin, they just told us that they are onboarding more than 40,000 users every week. That's their statistic. They have a really pretty big global presence. So yeah, I mean, I think that's what's really interesting here is that something that was widespread skepticism of this project is now really, on the map. I think what's interesting is that, it's not in the United States. We could talk about that more in greater detail. But, part of the reason for this boom, obviously, is that Worldcoin is also a project of Sam Altman, who is, well known for OpenAI. There's the map. We can get into this in a moment. But yeah, I think so. Part of this, I'm sure, is riding some of the, excitement about AI because it's, literally the same person behind these two projects.
I said this yesterday on The Hash. Everyone is up in arms about giving up their biometric data, but I truly believe that once it becomes convenient and once there is a real incentive that people are just going to do it. I mean, we see it with private companies who take biometric data at the airport so you can skip a line and people don't think twice about doing that. You mentioned these really, really large numbers of people onboarding onto Worldcoin. We just saw a map there. Where are we seeing people onboard into the app, and why do you think we're seeing this concentration in these countries, especially South America?
Great. And Jen, I just want to follow up on what you said. I 100% agree with what you just said, that people sacrificing biometrics for convenience. First of all, that's already happening. And it's not even just to skip an airport line. It's to get an airdrop. That's not a joke. I think there are many places where people are oh, you want my biometric data? I'll get an airdrop. That is completely a fair trade. I'm not even joking. I think that's not even an issue for some people. So we're already seeing that, right? Because people are scanning their irises. And I think part of the motivation for that is to receive coins. I mean, that's so yes. Anyway, so I think, we will see that going. So let's pull up this map for a second. This is the map this is from Worldcoin itself. Now, if you look at it, it's not very detailed in the sense that we don't have any numbers. And I tried to sort of get the numbers from Worldcoin, how many users do you have in each country? Couldn't really get that. Now, obviously, looking at the map, not much happening in the US. Latin America seems to be quite booming. So, I kind of asked them about that. I wasn't aware of that Latin America was such a big market for them. I asked them which country in Latin America had the most World ID signups. They didn't really answer that, but they said that Argentina and Chile are their most popular markets in the region. And when I asked about how many users Worldcoin has in Latin America, what percentage of the total does the region represent, they wouldn't provide those metrics. But we do know that Argentina and Chile, they wouldn't really speculate on why Latin America was so big. But I think that's just kind of an interesting note. But again, the blankness of the US, I think, is also a really interesting thing. It is called Worldcoin. It's sort of Worldcoin without the US and China, which obviously are, two fairly big players in the world. So yeah, it's very much a non-US phenomenon at this point.
When the story first came out, I think it was last year, we were talking about Worldcoin going to really rural areas and collecting biometric data, and in turn for the crypto that was worth some value of money. I wonder if it's just easier in these parts of the world to get out to those rural areas and offer an incentive for people to give up their biometric data than it would be in a more developed nation. Let's talk about what's going on in China. There's a black market that's popped up all of a sudden for Worldcoin credentials.
Yeah, so CoinDesk had an article about this. Our colleagues Lisa and Lingling reported on this. So yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, in China, if you're part of the tech community, if you're part of the crypto community, people are quite used to barriers and restrictions. So, even though Worldcoin is restricted in China, people are kind of looking for ways to get into the action. And so yeah, there have been reports, and I've seen some of these myself on Chinese sites of basically selling KYC. It's a little bit unclear like how exactly this works, but it raises a lot of questions about sort of like the security and the transferability of this kind of KYC to access this in China. Now, I asked Worldcoin about China as well. Why exactly it's not available to users to China, and they did not really answer. So yeah, I don't know. But I think, what's an interesting note about China is I think part of the reason Worldcoin is popular in China is I think there's some expectation of an airdrop. And also, Sam Altman, because of ChatGPT, is also very well known in China. And so I think that this is, that's part of the appeal. And that's why, I think some Chinese users would like to participate in this project.
Okay, so Sam Altman is part of the appeal. I was going to ask you, what do you think is driving this interest? Do you think it's this AI element where WorldCoin is now saying, there's this proof of personhood. Once we have your biometric data, we can verify that you're a human, and then you can have access to all of these different apps that you can get through the wallet? Do you think it's the crypto aspect of it? Do you think it's the celebrity of Sam Altman? Is it a combination of all three?
Yeah, so of course, just speculating here, I would imagine, if I had to frame it the most simply, I would say it's a combination of two things. I think it's a combination of simply like, cool, we wanted airdrop. Like literally, I mean, that's what motivates a lot of people in the crypto world. I mean, let's just be honest here. I think there's like, we wanted airdrop and I can make some money off this. I think that's one. But I think the second one, yes, I think the fact that this is backed by Sam Altman is giving this project a layer of credibility that it might not have had before, just given the success and the huge just hotness of OpenAI and ChatGPT. WorldCoin has been sort of like percolating for a while. I think there was a lot of skepticism about it. And now, given how ChatGPT is just sort of booming, I think people are taking WorldCoin a lot more seriously.
Okay, and lastly, we kind of skimmed over the U.S. element there. We saw Sam Altman speak to Congress on AI recently. He was calling for regulation. On the other side of things, the crypto industry is not really working well with regulators in the U.S. Do you think there's some kind of parallel there, why they're keeping this crypto product outside of U.S. borders?
Yeah, such a good question. So do we have that tweet by Sam Altman? Sam Altman kind of made a joke about the US and how like he was able to finally, use the orb once he was outside of the US. But yeah, I did ask specifically, because I think, Jen, it's a really interesting question. Why is it not in the US? I think there could be a variety of reasons. It could just have to do with, there are various crypto projects that for whatever reason are reluctant to issue tokens in the US because of fears of the SEC or whatever. That could be it. I just want to quickly read WorldCoin's response, because I did ask them about why they were not available to the users in the US. And they just responded, individuals in the US may access and utilize the World app, a wallet built for the WorldCoin protocol, and can also sign up for a World ID. At this time, the WorldCoin token is not intended to be available in the United States, and we are not in a position to speculate regarding US regulators. So that's kind of all we know about, its limited availability in the United States.
All right. Well, we'll just have to keep watching this story to find out what happens next. Definitely an interesting turn every time we hear about WorldCoin. Emily, always such a pleasure hearing your perspective on what's going on globally.